vaccine world. Johnson & Johnson just announced the trial results for its vaccine. They say it is 72% effective in preventing moderate to severe symptoms 4 weeks after you get the vaccination. So we know all of these developments are raising certainly new questions, and we have help this morning. Here with some answers, we have NBC News medical contributors, Dr. Ben Gupta and Dr. Natalie Azar. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Dr. Azar, let me start with you. We're learning this morning about the efficacy of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. What can you tell us? There's a lot of numbers being thrown around this morning. Can you break it down for us and just how effective it really is?
Yes, Chanel. So here is the breakdown. Overall efficacy was 66%, and that was for prevention of moderate to severe disease. In the U.S., that number increased to about 72%. And in South Africa, where the majority of people were infected with the new variant, efficacy was about 57%. But here's the really important number that I want people to take home. Efficacy at preventing severe disease all across the board was 85%, and in fact, it was 100% effective in preventing hospitalization and death. Okay. So from a public health perspective, that is the most important thing. You want to obviously prevent hospitalization and prevent people from dying. And from an epidemiological point of view, let me make a very important point that even if those efficacy numbers aren't quite as high, let's say, as Pfizer and Moderna, this should not discourage people from getting vaccinated. The only way to stop evolution of the virus, that is, the only way to stop it from mutating is to stop it from replicating. So we still need people to be getting vaccinated.
So Dr. Gupta, no matter how we break down those numbers, Pfizer and Moderna seems to have that efficacy of 95%. This one a little bit lower. But we always look at the flu shot. Some years it's only like 50 or 60%. So does this mean that we should take some comfort in the fact that all these efficacy numbers are higher than what we usually get with the flu shot?
Good morning, Al. Absolutely. As Dr. Azar just mentioned, these are still really effective vaccines. And what's really notable about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is that it's a one-shot dose that you can store in regular refrigerators for a few months potentially. So why is that important? Let me first say, number one, as Dr. Azar was pointing out, we are at a race against time. The longer we allow this new variant potentially to continue to potentially change, that happens, the more there's case transmissions in communities, the greater the chance that another strain could arise that lowers the efficacy of these vaccines even more. So we are in a race against time, and it's important to keep that in mind, number one. Number two, I think we need to be overly prescriptive here. Target the one-shot dose to communities where there's high rates of vaccine hesitancy for lots of reasons that we don't have time to go into, or maybe to rural ex-urban counties. We should be overly prescriptive here to get to herd immunity as quickly as possible, because let me tell you right now, we're seeing more mobility. The biggest drive in our modeling here at IHME, the biggest driver of increased cases that we are seeing in the coming months is increased mobility. Now nearly every state has indoor dining open. More people are going back into the school setting. This is a really, really dangerous time here. So that's why we need to increase the ramp up in production of the J&J vaccine, but also maybe be overly prescriptive in who gets it.
Dr. Natalie, to that point, my dad's on a list. He doesn't know when he's getting the vaccine. His doctor told him, I don't have the infrastructure to support those vaccines, so I'm never going to have it. But with something like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it can be stored at regular refrigerated temperatures. Should people be hopeful that they could see this more available? I mean, how soon before we could see this vaccine in offices for people to get a shot?
Definitely. So here's their timeline. They plan to apply for an EUA by the end of next week and anticipate approval by the end of February. They have pledged 100 million doses, 1 million doses by the end of June and up to 1 billion doses by year's end. To echo what Dr. Gupta was saying, it is relatively easy and inexpensive to make. It doesn't require that cold chain, so it will be a wonderful addition to the arsenal in the toolbox right now, Dylan.
Dr. Gupta, finally, the data released this morning. You just talked about this. It shows the J&J vaccine was 52% effective in South Africa. Can we assume that that's because of the variant? And then what does that mean? You know, as we just reported this morning that it's been found in South Carolina. It's kind of scary.
And I know this is really anxious time, Chanel, for everybody. And I mean, it is worrisome. not lie, it is absolutely worrisome. And these vaccines are still effective. So Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, even though they have lower effectiveness, as Al pointed out, there's still the effectiveness of these vaccines against the new variant is generally even higher than sometimes what we see with the annual flu shot, with the flu strain circulating. So take heart. These vaccines are so very effective, even if there's a gradient, and you need to get it as quickly as possible. But again, Chanel, just to emphasize, we need to really be as vigilant as possible to drive down cases.
All right, Dr. Gupta, Dr. Azar, we just got this information this morning, and you guys are on top of it. So thank you both for your time this morning.
Thank you.
All right.